Tonight I stand before you to report that America has created the longest peacetime economic expansion in our history. With nearly 18 million new jobs, wages rising at more than twice the rate of inflation, the highest home ownership in history, the smallest welfare rolls in 30 years, and the lowest peacetime unemployment since 1957.
1999, that final frenzied year of the millennium. The year of the dot-com bubble, Y2K paranoia, and an all too brief renaissance in Hollywood. It was the year that the European Union came into being, NATO began its war on the Balkans, and Pakistan nearly nuked India. It was the year we discovered the president did in fact have sexual relations with that woman, and nobody seemed to care.
The Senate, sitting as a court of impeachment, stands adjourned sine die.
1999 was also the year that Generation X came of age and woke up to the soul-crushing realization that consumerism had taken hold of the nation and stolen their dreams. This Gen X millennial angst was the central theme of one of the decade's most influential films, David Fincher's Fight Club, adapted from the novel by Chuck Palahniuk.
God damn it, an entire generation pumping gas, waiting tables, slaves with white collars. Advertising has us chasing cars and clothes, working jobs we hate so we can buy shit we don't need. We're the middle children of history, man. No purpose or place. We have no great war, no great depression. Our great war is a spiritual war. Our great depression is our lives. We've all been raised on television to believe that one day we'd all be millionaires and movie gods and rock stars, but we won't. We're slowly learning that fact. And we're very, very pissed off.
Yeah. To combat the empty numbness of their daily lives, these lost men of the middle generation of history form an underground fight club. What begins as an expression of defiance quickly turns destructive as the Fight Club evolves into an underground movement known as Project Mayhem, bent on the destruction of corporate property and the delicate fabric of polite society. The film echoed the growing rage against a corporate-dominated society that erupted earlier that year at the Woodstock '99 music festival. Riots broke out over the relentless corporate marketing and heavy price gouging of nearly every amenity, driving the crowd of pissed-off Gen Xers into a feeding frenzy.
How much are the fries? $4 for a small? American money? I thought this was about like love and peace and sharing. $4? I can plant a field of potatoes for $4 and make my own fries.
What had happened to kill the dreams of an entire generation? Where did this rage against the machine come from?
A new world order.
And it's only now that we can begin to understand that the world order that globalization brings and what it's going to look like, it's driven forward now not just by the balance of military strength, the Cold War times, or ordinary political power. It's being driven forward by a seismic shift in economic power that we see around us.
It had been 10 years since the Berlin Wall had fallen, and over that decade, the world experienced the free market revolution. But instead of freedom or equality, billions were waking up to the realization that for most of the world, globalization meant poverty and modern-day slavery. 1 month after the release of Fight Club, massive protests erupted at the World Trade Organization Summit in Seattle, Washington. Known as the Battle in Seattle, the riots caused damage to corporate property and were blamed on black-clad anarchists, known as the Black Bloc. The evidence, however, lays ultimate blame at the feet of the Seattle police. Although some members of the Black Bloc did engage in the destruction of corporate property and admitted it, it was later revealed that police agent provocateurs had infiltrated many anarchist groups and were in fact responsible for starting much of the violence and destruction. A global movement was born. Along the corridors of power, people began to take notice. Then, the unthinkable happened.
Oh my God! Holy shit!
The attacks on the Twin Towers were too eerily similar to the ending of Fight Club for anyone's comfort. But it is undeniable that the symbol of exploding corporate monoliths was burned indelibly into the zeitgeist of the times.
You must leave. If you do not disperse, you may be arrested and/or subject to other police action. The use of riot control agents and/or less lethal munitions, which could cause risk of injury.
The global lockdown response to the events of September 11th may or may not have been directed at the anti-globalization movement. But it's clear it was the end for them. Direct action has become a form of terrorism in the post-9/11 world, while the world's decision makers now cordon themselves off inside security zones and continue with business as usual. Generation X's defiant movement against the emerging power structure was a revolution interrupted, obscured, but not forgotten. They were mighty times.